Welcome to Cocktail Hour. Welcome to episode 38 of Cocktail Hour. Yay! This is Andy. We always miss that cue. This is Andy.
And Liz.
Woo! And And we are welcoming prolific writer Alex Tryst to the show.
Hello.
Yep, it's Alex. Can you believe it, people? You know how she's all reclusive and she's just pumping out story after story? Yeah.
I tried to read all your stuff and I had to cry like, Uncle, I can't. You've written too much. I can't. I had to say no.
That's how I felt when I was reading, getting ready for this conversation. I had to go back and start reading things because, I have 15 years worth of stuff out there.
Yeah, no lie.
And I got to a place where I was like, I can't do it. My eyes are crossing. I can't read anymore.
So when did you start writing all this? When you were a pimply-faced 15-year-old?
Well, actually, I started writing when I was 12.
Ooh, ready then.
Yeah, and nothing that I wrote when I was 12 is out there on the net, of course, but I still have a few things that I wrote, and I look at it, and I read it, and I chuckle. But yeah, I started when I was 12, and then I started kind of coming into my own sexually, anyway.
Uh-huh.
And
hence the coming part.
The what?
Hence the coming part.
The coming part.
Coming into your own. I can think of that in many ways.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, that too. But, Andy, I don't know if I've told you much about my childhood or not. But,
Nope.
I was raised in a very religiously conservative house.
Aww.
And, like going to church 3 times a week, going to chapel every day, going to a private school.
Boy.
I know the Bible inside out, but, that's for another story.
Wow.
that's for my shrink to know about.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I started writing, all the time because I was trying to figure myself out and having this outside influence saying, oh, this is bad, you're wrong, blah, 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 and me saying, but that doesn't seem right to me. I would just write it all down. And so that's the way it was for a long time. And so it was a way for me to figure out who I was. And then I went to college, and I really figured out who I was. And had a good time doing it. And but then I kept writing because I enjoyed it. I got to a place that I wanted, an outlet. And I figured, I guess this was like, I don't know, a few years after I graduated from college, I kind of found the internet and lesbian fiction online, and so I just started posting stuff and getting feedback, and I used to write 2 novels a year. I'm kind of down to now I'm down to none because I haven't written in 2 years.
Well, you're writing now, though.
I am writing now, and I'm so excited about this 2 books I'm working on, but we can talk about that a little later.
Cool.
But anyway, so that's kind of how it all came to be.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How do you manage to write so many? I mean, you're not written recently, but how do you manage to write, how much time do you put into it?
Well, the one caveat about not writing now, and I'll just put it out, becoming a mom has changed everything about the way, my entire life, including the way I write. But before that, I would write hours a day, and my wife and I worked separate shifts. I worked a standard 9 to 5 Monday through Friday type of job, and she did not. So there would be entire days where we wouldn't see each other, and I would just write all day long. And I kind of liked that, actually, because I had my time, she had her time, and we had our time together.
Nice.
Now, with, the kid, I have to find time, and I squeeze time out by staying up really late in the middle of the night. I usually will start writing at 11 or 12 o'clock at night and write till 2 o'clock in the morning. Then go to bed, then get up, go to work, and start all over again.
Wow, that must be hell on your getting up in the morning.
Oh, it is, but I work a lot from home, so I can get up at 8:30, roll out of bed, and just sit down at my desk in my pajamas, and no one would ever know the difference.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's pretty nice, though. That's a nice little setup you got going on over there.
It is until I have to travel, and then it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I imagine it would be. Wow.
Yeah.
So you feel like your muse is sitting on your shoulder and you're just compelled to write when you do this at, midnight to 2?
Yeah, that's true. I get inspired by various mediums, but I'm always inspired by something specific when I start a story, and that's the entire reason for starting a story. Mm-hmm. Now, whether it comes to fruition and completion is a different thing, but I always have some specific inspiration in mind when I start something. And I wait for it to come to me. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know when it's going to come.
Yeah.
But when it does, I'm obsessed, compelled to just sit down and write. For example, this new book I'm working on, it was sitting on the shelf unfinished for 4 years. And I saw a picture of my muse of this story, who was a little bit older, had grown up in that 4 years. And, I saw it, I got inspired again, and now when I stopped working on it 4 years ago, it was about 200 pages. Now it's almost 500 pages.
Wow.
That's why it hurts so much to read your stuff, Alex. Most of it's really long.
Well, I started out as a novelist. I started writing short stories along the way just because I had inspiration, but I didn't have time to flesh it out into a full story. And the older I've gotten, the more I've started writing, the longer things have become, because I'm still, after all this time, learning not to rush things so much. Because I want to get to the, well, let's face it, I want to get to the sex.
All right. That's what we like talking about. I'll tell you that right now.
The yow.
Yeah, I want to get to the climax real fast.
Look at you. Don't we all? No. Some of us like to torture ourselves and make it slow. Can you guys hold...
You don't know what's going to come out of my mouth. I'm already on my second scotch.
Oh, yay.
Oh, you are?
Oh, wow.
I'm drinking my scotch, too.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that. I'm so bad. Before we get any later, let's talk about the drink, which since I'm not drinking, I don't think about the drink anymore, unfortunately. Damn it. But
I keep on reminding you, too.
I know, right?
That's what we're going to be drinking.
Yeah. So Alex, we asked Alex, which we always ask our authors, what they would like to drink during the show. And Alex recommended scotch, which really came as no surprise to me.
Well, let me say this. I gave Liz a couple of options, all thematic, of course.
Uh-huh.
This is what she came up with.
Mm-hmm.
I know. It's all butches are drinking scotch and whatnot. And I was like, well, considering, thematically there's so many more scotch drinkers per volume in your work. So
there are. Between, let's see, Torrance, Blake, and Aaron, which I think we're all going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Got a bunch of scotch drinkers there. And I have a funny scotch story. I was never a scotch drinker until my father-in-law had me do a scotch tasting at his house, and he lined up 8 bottles of scotch, and he and I tasted every single one of them. My wife and mother-in-law were out for the day, and let's just say they weren't too happy when they came back, because he and I were both drunk off our asses, laughing like a bunch of teenage boys.
Oh, that's awesome.
But ever since then, I've had an appreciation for it.
I guess so. Either you'd hate it or love it.
Yeah, exactly, and it depends on the kind you drink. Like I was telling Liz earlier today, I like blended scotch. I don't like single malt, because I don't like malt that much. So I like the blended much better.
Oh, well, there you go. One of our favorites on Cocktail Hour, call it Moody. She's like the drink master, and I think it was the first show we had her on. She recommended a drink called the Ultimate Black and Ginger. And it's equal parts 12-year-old single malt scotch and Dominique de Canton, which is a ginger liqueur.
That sounds good.
I tell you what, I can't stand scotch, and for a lot of reasons, but that drink, it rocked.
It sounds delicious. I've never heard of ginger liqueur.
Yep, it's awesome. Mm-hmm.
Well, there's ginger ale. So.
And there's ginger from Gilligan's Island. Ha ha. Hey.
Actually, to segue into one of the stories, I thought that Emily in Super Dyke reminded me of Daphne from Scooby-Doo with her neckerchiefs.
Oh, that. Yeah.
Not the personality, but just like, I don't think I've ever seen a non-flight attendant have it as a common accessory.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because this dovetails into what I wanted to talk about as far as what is particularly my inspiration. I got that idea from a photograph of somebody, and if you go onto my Facebook page, you can find out who it is. And so when I saw this photograph, that photograph actually inspired Emily as a character in full. As soon as I saw that picture, I saw Emily. But that's why she wears the scarf the whole time. That's an accessory.
Interesting.
And I do
that to cover a picky.
I do that for every single book that I have. I always have at least one visual muse. Mm-hmm. Some are, celebrities, popular people in media, whatever, and then some are not. Mm-hmm. And some inspiration are not even people. It's landscapes or whatever.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Songs, too. Hence the name of the first chapter of Super Dyke.
Pina colada.
Pina coladas, that's right.
Do you like pina coladas?
I do not. But you know what? This is interesting. I happen to be looking at that photograph that I just talked about and listening to Rupert Holmes at the same time. Mm-hmm. And that's how the Pina Coladas of Emily Parker came to be.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you just never know where it's going to come from.
I know. And speaking of Super Dyke, I think there's a college story you might want to share with our listeners. Get to the real Alex. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Well, Super Dyke is actually my nickname that was coined for me in college. And I knew this conversation was going to come up, so I started thinking about it really sincerely. And what you don't know, Andy, that I had forgotten about is my wife actually gave me the nickname first.
Oh, really?
I had forgotten that detail.
Oh.
But it's been 20 years, so, I forget a lot of things.
I understand completely.
So she gave me that nickname, and then my friends picked it up because whenever we were at parties, and I drank a lot, which I did in college. I drank all the time in college.
Yeah, who didn't?
Mostly bourbon and rum. I did not like beer. I still don't like it.
Yeah, me
so I was always the hard liquor person, and I would take bottles of each, one of bourbon and one of rum, and I'd stick them in the back pocket of my jeans, which is how I would attract the ladies, because they would all want to come have some of my liquor, and they'd have to fish it out of my back pocket.
Liquor's quicker.
Anyway, so, and getting drunk all the time at parties, I would inevitably get hot, and I would take my shirt off and tie it around my neck like a superhero. And go running around all over the place. So, Super Dyke, that's how it came to be.
Nice.
That's so cute.
Isn't it cute? Don't you wish there was photographic evidence?
That's the reason why you got the Super Dyke name.
What did you say, Liz?
I said I thought it was because you were a trollop like Aaron in the story.
Well, that's the next story I wanted to talk about.
Oh,
actually, with this particular book, is that this book was not meant to be this book. I originally had this particular title, and it was supposed to be a collection of short stories about some of real, some of not real, my escapades as Super Dyke. But I wrote the first 2 chapters, short stories, about other people, and I wanted to spice it up a bit, so I made up this character, Emily Parker. And by the time I got to the end of this first chapter, what became the first chapter, I kind of had a crush on Emily Parker.
Aww.
I thought, oh, what the hell? I'll write a second, short story about Emily, and I'll just throw it in somewhere else. But by the time I got to the end of the second part about Emily, I kind of was like Aaron in that, oh my God, I'm in love with this character, and I don't want to let her go. So... If I had to do it over again, it would be this book about Emily and Aaron, but it would not have this title. This title was supposed to be for something else. Interesting. Yeah, this is the only book I've also ever posted in unfinished fashion. I posted one chapter at a time. Wow. And that was particularly challenging. I wanted to try and take on that challenge because I'd never done it before. Mm-hmm. But it made it a lot harder because I couldn't go back and I couldn't change things. And, once they're out there, I can't really change them around, and I can't go back and say, oh, maybe she shouldn't have said that, or maybe she didn't really do that. And you just can't do it because it's already out there. So I had to work within much more limitations than I normally do. Yeah.
Well, the other thing that struck me about Super Dyke was that in many, and in probably most lesbian fiction, you figure out who the two love interests are early on, and then you kind of continue on with them. And I remembered I kind of balked when Sahar, is that it pronounced?
Sahar, yeah.
I was like, what? Sahara is the one who's going to get to touch her? Oh, crap. Because I'm not formulaic in general, but I was just like expecting for the first time for her to be able to do that. And I was like, oh, man, I was bummed. But then when I read through it again after having, gone through it the first time, I'm like, okay, that works. And it also has a lot to do with trust. And it took them a long time to work on that. But at the end, I thought it was kind of beautiful when Erin truly gave herself to Emily, without reservation, without any kind of caveat, or even forcing it for her to go take Emily first. I thought that was an interesting form of virginity, taking and being the bottom and having somebody pleasure you, even though that's not something that Erin Super Dyke is accustomed to.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's not something I don't write that way very much. So that was kind of different. I love Sahara's character. First of all, I've never written about a Muslim before, but I know some. I kind of wanted to make a religious statement at the time because of the time frame in which we were living, in which I wrote it. And I do have some Muslim friends that are gay, and that's kind of an interesting way to live, to say the least. So I was trying to sort of work that into my book and work it out in my head, and sometimes it gets into my writing. I also had a particular woman in my head when I was writing Sahar, but I like her as sort of that baby step for Erin for growing and becoming a more mature woman, and mm-hmm. I thought it was necessary. I'm not sure she ever would have gotten there with Emily if she didn't have that baby stuff.
Yeah, and I think, she had a lot of growing up to do. And as for the Muslim character, one of my really good friends from my baby Dyke years moved from Egypt to New York so that she could be out, so that she could live her life the way that she wanted to in a way that she couldn't if she was still in Egypt. And when I was reading the novel the first time, when you were having her calling out to Allah, to God, and, for me, I kind of paused for a second because my friend would call her lover Habibi, which is the an honorific towards, a male lover, but obviously to her Bush. So I was like, she probably would say Habibi here and there. I don't know about the Allah, because Allah just sounds like taking the traditional paradigm of, oh God, and putting it just in.
Yeah, I get where you're going with it. I don't have experience with Muslim lovers, so I had to make that one up on the fly.
What? You missed one? Wait. Alex missed one? I feel faint.
I know. Well,
do you have a wide variety of what you've experienced? Because Andy and I've talked to her about how I've been with quite a few women, and I couldn't for the life of me remember most of their names, but I do remember where they were.
Braggart.
I'm like Paris, Australia, Turkey, Italy.
That. Well,
no fucking idea. I can give you probably the city for many of them, Paris or Berlin or Munich or Salzburg or something like that. But I can't for the fuck me remember their name.
Well, let me put it to you in this context, so you have a better understanding of me as a person. I didn't come out. I came out when I was 18. I was still in high school, and my parents said, "Oh, fuck no, you're not," and they pushed me right back in. So I had to wait until I was in college to, go down that road. And I went to a very small all-women's college in Virginia.
Woo!
Yeah, it was like paradise.
I went to college too. I went in straight. I came out gay.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that actually. I actually remember. I remember where you went too, because I got going there.
It was like the opposite, I guess. You've probably heard of the 4-year lesbian, where a girl will be lesbian while they're at school, and then when they graduate, they go back to men. And for me, I was kind of like the opposite. Most people, because I started dating men, they thought that I was just, experimenting in college. But like I graduated as a lesbian, and I've stayed the entire time. And I said I joke about my straight years. I've been clean for 15 years, so all good.
I
So I've been clean and sober. I've been strictly clit from that point forward. But yeah, gay in 4 years or your money back, which is the joke for Smith.
That's not right. That's not right.
Which is another women's college.
I kind of wish I had gone to Smith sometimes, but I didn't. Anyway, I know exactly what you're talking about. Most of the women that I had in college, well, all the women I had in college, except for my wife, and you need to understand something. I met my wife between, we were in a class together, my sophomore year, spring semester, my sophomore year, we were in an econ class together. We didn't really know each other, but we were in class together, and then we met over the summer. So the summer between my sophomore and junior years is when we really met and started hanging out. So I had this very short window between freshman year, day one of freshman year, until I started dating my wife. So that's basically 2 years. And then once I got together with her, she laid down the law pretty quickly that, hey, if you want to be with me, you can't go screw around. So you 16 years later, I think it was a good bargain to make.
Yeah, I guess so. You made the right choice. But in the 2 years, though, you were all over the place.
In the 2 years, every woman that I ever slept with was straight. Believe it or not.
I was wondering about that in your books. I kind of pick up on some patterns and stuff like that. And one of the things I'm like, what's with all the straight chicks? I
love betting straight women. What can I say?
Right, yeah, you got to go with what works. I'm just saying.
Especially the really dodgy one in Ice, the short story.
That is
where
about
she's like, I'm going to ease her into having sex with me.
That is about a real person, actually, that story. Someone that I worked with. Obviously, I didn't fuck her because I'm married. But if I could have, that's the way it would have gone.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to say her name, of course.
No. Anonymous is good. It's very good.
Actually, another one you have on the list of stuff we might have talked about, job interview. That's a real story, except for the fucking part. That really happened to me, too.
But how can you take the fucking part out of the story, though?
You can't. That's why it's there. But I had in job interview, that short story, I had a job interview that went exactly like that. I didn't make any of that shit up.
Wow.
That was word for word what happened to me. And all I did was tack the sex onto the end.
Wow. I'm going to have to go back and reread that one.
Oh, yeah. My favorite, though, of your short stories was In-Flight Entertainment.
Also about
Mile High Club. Woohoo!
Yeah. That's also about the same woman that Ice is about.
Ah, I see. Yeah, I was going to say, what's with the redheads with freckles?
I'm married to a redhead with freckles.
The plot
it's all coming together now.
It's all coming together now.
Well, at least she was a redhead. She's more auburn now that she had a baby. But anyway.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's amazing what happens to someone after you are pregnant and give birth.
Yeah. Things definitely change not only with the family dynamic, but in your body itself. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even though I didn't have a baby, my life has changed completely.
I imagine it would. I mean, if you want to be a supportive spouse, hello.
Exactly.
Well,
one of the things about, most lesbian fiction is there's the butch-femme dynamic and the assumption that always the femme, if there's going to be somebody who's carrying, it's going to be her.
That's true.
And in my relationship, my partner's Puerto Rican and she's very old-fashioned in many ways, but the one really not old-fashioned, well, few things going on at once. She trans-identifies, but because I can't carry a baby, she's offered to carry the baby for me, which I think is like the ultimate sign of love.
That's a big deal.
She would allow her body to be female for that. And because that in my head, I was thinking when it came to Super Dyke, I thought either Super Dyke or stick to the script. I think having, a gorgeous, tall, buff Amazon have a baby is really lesbian hot to me.
Oh, yeah. I had to do the
exactly. I'm like, oh.
I had to do the purr.
Well, I can see where you're going with that. Sure, I can see that. It doesn't happen to be the world that I live in because in my particular marriage, it's not totally butch femme, but we sort of gravitate that way. And you can probably guess who is who. But,
yeah, you're the femme, right, Alex?
Well, even though I don't gravitate like butch femme, in the sense of personality, I do acquiesce to being her. Like it's been in the first few. We've been together 7 years. In the first few years, she insisted I was a femme. I said I'm not a femme, but I'll be your femme, even though that's not how I identify. And the thing is funny is that the times that I'm photographed are usually when I'm dressed up, and when I dress up, I dress to be her femme. Which I'm totally fine with.
Wait, you look really good dressed up, by the way.
Excuse me?
I said you look really good dressed up, by the way.
Thank you. Me and my Bobby look cute together.
Yeah.
But what was funny, in our relationship, we were together almost 7 years, and it wasn't until the summer that she acknowledged my butchness. She wants to get rid of all the pictures of me looking butch and whatnot, or any short-haired, because it's just stupid. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm keeping those pictures. They're a part of me, and even though she says, well, yeah, I know you're butch, but at least I got the long hair.
Well, in my relationship, if you saw it, you probably wouldn't believe it, because I am like Torrance Whitfield from Love and Photographs, in that I think one of the other characters made mention of it, she called Torrance a puppy. I can't remember who it was. I think it was in Stick to the Script. Jamie or Sarah, I think, called Torrance a puppy, and that's kind of what I am. When it comes to my wife, she's like, oh, we're going to do this. Okay.
Aw, the things you do for love.
Exactly.
I get that. So you of all of the characters that you've written, and you've written a lot, sister, you self-identify most with the Torrance character. Is that what we're hearing?
Well, people ask me this a lot, and I used to say, before my child was born, I used to say, Jamie was the woman that I was, Blake was the woman that I am professionally, and Torrance is the woman that I am personally. But now that my child has been born, I think Torrance is the woman I strive to be, and Jamie is more the woman that I am, and I'm not anything like Blake anymore.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, that leads us to the New York series.
Yes.
Which, I think that was the first series I ever read of your, or the first thing I ever read of your work, and I really, really enjoyed it. My favorite, though, in that series is Stick to the Script.
Which rocks, by the way.
Yeah, that is my favorite of the.
Tell me why. I love to hear why people like things.
Well, because it's got the glamour of Hollywood, it's kind of fun. It's a fun little romp. I love how you built the Sarah character. I loved who she is, because it was very Gabrielle-esque. And I love Eve. She's just the cutest little thing. I want to squeeze her because she's just so cute. And my favorite part of that story was when oh damn, what the hell was her name? Jamie, right? When Jamie had some of Sarah's breast milk by accident.
Oh, yeah.
What, you don't like the way I taste?
That was awesome.
Oh yeah, I was cracking myself up as I wrote that. I was like, no, that's too good. I can't not write that.
Exactly. It was awesome. But I mean, I like the ebb and flow. I like how Jamie was just able to, at some, just like, you know what, I'm going with it. I'm just going with it because she resisted. She was interested, and then she backed off, and for the sake of the relationship, and then they went back and forth, and some interesting things happened with the whole movie they were starring in, that one scene, which I thought was terrifically done. And
the sex scene in the movie?
Yeah, that was excellent. Yeah. And
I
then,
love that too.
No, that's awesome. And then, of course, I think it was Sarah that finally made the big move. Wasn't it?
And what I like about Sarah in that book is that Sarah didn't fall in love with Jamie because of the same reason everybody else fell in love with Jamie. She was attractive, and she had the body, and she had the looks, and she had the fame. Sarah didn't care about any of that.
Yeah.
All she cared about was the way that Jamie was maternal towards her own child, and then, Eve, Sarah's child, and then her own child, Katrina. Mm-hmm. And that's why Sarah fell in love with her, and I think that's something I don't really write about much. I just thought that was so lovely that could happen.
Yeah, I mean, you can't help but fall in love with a woman that goes to the pharmacy, 3 or 4 times in one night?
Yeah, I've done that.
Have you?
Oh, yeah. The first time my daughter had a fever, we didn't have any, for whatever reason, we didn't have any baby Tylenol or fever, reducer or anything, and it was the middle of the night. I went to 3 or 4 CVS's in the middle of the night trying to find this one specific item. Yeah,
but Stick to the Script was written much, much, much earlier in your writing career.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
That's why I said I think I'm more like Jamie now than I was then.
Yeah.
But I'm like Torrance too, because of the way Torrance treats her wife, Helen. That's the way I try to treat my wife.
It's a little idealized for me. I mean, I enjoyed the story, but the way it was just too idyllic. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I do. It's interesting. I see that point, and when I was a child, and I thought about my future spouse, whoever that was going to be, that's always what I had in my head of how I wanted to treat that person. Mm-hmm. And somehow it's come to fruition.
Sweet.
Yeah.
You're living the dream, sister.
Yeah.
Living the dream.
Well, it seems like when the Butches are introduced, at least with Torrance and Jamie, they have this kind of sexy swagger, and they have this image of them being womanizers. Jamie obviously embraced it much more than Torrance did. I was a little confused at a certain point during Love and Photographs with Torrance, because initially when she had seen Helen, it seemed to me like she just wanted to get Helen to bed ASAP. And that was her modus operandi, that she slept around. But then when you get to know Torrance as a character, she isn't the type to just sleep around with everybody. And, she's very loving and caring and thoughtful. And that's probably one of the reasons why Helen was able to eventually fall in love with her, is because of that sweetness and tenderness, and then the juxtaposition between, what she had experienced with men and what she was experiencing with Torrance. But what I thought was interesting, and maybe you've experienced this before, was with the straight women, when they realize that they have this major hots for another woman, they tweak out and make believe it's nothing like what they want to be a part of. Like Helen, freaked out after they had sex, and she's like, I don't even think I can reciprocate. And then she totally iced her out and said she didn't want to talk to her again. And then with Sarah, during the movie scene, their first sex scene together, she got so hot that she totally forgot that they were filming. And Torrance was Jamie was this close to going down on her in front of the crew.
That was good.
Had not called cut.
That was excellent.
Her face would have been in that snatch.
I so wanted her face to be in that snatch too, right there.
But you know what?
But I held back because I just knew they couldn't have sex in front of 60 people for the first time.
But you did put in that Jamie could smell the arousal, which I thought was awesome. I was like, "Go girl! It's your birthday! It's your birthday!"
Well, that's what I love about Sarah is because even though she's straight, she kind of just jumps in a lot quicker and says, "Oh, to fuck this, to hell with this, I'm doing it." Mm-hmm. And I like that about her. I really do.
Yeah, she's a great character. I tell you, one of my least favorite stories in your series has to be Georgia on My Mind.
I didn't even finish it. I'm so sorry. I started it, but I couldn't deal with the accent.
You couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it. I was reading it, and I was just like, I do not like this dialect. I can't handle it, and I just went on to the next thing.
Well, you know what? It was so hard to write, and I'm not even sure I captured it 100% the way it should have been captured. Again, it was something new I was trying to do because I've never written accents before. Some people tell me it's good. Some people tell me the accent's not right. And you know what? The hell with it. I was trying it. It is what it is. I personally find that one to be my least favorite too.
Yeah, I just want to bitch slap Georgia. I didn't care about the accents because when you wrote it and I'm reading it and I'm thinking, I just put in my mother's side of the family. They're all from Alabama, so I throw in. I just hear that accent, so that was fine. But she just annoyed the shit out of me.
Yeah, and I can understand why she almost got Blake killed.
Not right, exactly, hussy.
I mean, if it weren't for Jack, Blake would have been dead.
Yeah, no lie. That ain't right. I'm telling you.
It was really hard. I had to figure out how the hell I was going to come back from that. Once I got to that point, I was like, "Fuck! How do I turn that around?"
Well, you did, but still, I did,
but I think, especially in Vows of the Heart, which Liz has not read, it comes back.
You're talking to me like I'm evil. Something Liz not read. I said, "Wait, hold on. I read in preparation. Super Dyke, Darkest Desires, Dyke and the Debutante, Finding Yourself, First Interlude, Ice, In-Flight Entertainment, Job Interview, Love and Photographs, and Stick to the Script." My brain would explode if I tried to read anymore.
Wait a minute, that's all? That's all?
I'm with you, Liz, because yesterday I was trying to finish Vows of the Heart, and you emailed me and said, "Oh, I'm not going to get to it." And part of me was like, "Oh, thank God."
How long it was, and I almost gagged. I started reading. It's like I can't. So what I ended up doing is I reread Super Dyke.
Yeah. But the point I'm trying to make is the thing about the clan and almost being killed comes back in Vows of the Heart, and Blake gets very mad, and it blows up in their faces, and that's why they ended up where they ended up.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
I won't tell you where they ended up. You'll have to find out.
Okay. All right. So, as a little tease, when I've been reading a lot of your stuff, there's a lot of virgins too.
I haven't.
And I was wondering about that, and so in my head, immediately, the Robert Herrick poem "To the Virgins Make Much of Time." Gather ye rosebuds as you may. It's like, what's with all the virgins? And so in my head.
I have virgin fantasies. What can I say?
Well, speaking of young and impressionable, you had a story that was really controversial, as I recall, about.
I feel like a lot of them are.
Yeah, but this one stands out now. Do you think I can remember the title? Hell no. But it was two friends from high school, grew up together, and...
Oh, yeah, this is why I have my cheat sheet, Andy. Give this to me. It's a two-story series.
Okay.
The first one is called Persistence.
That's it, yep.
Yeah. And the second book in the series is called Time Clock of the Heart.
Yeah, that was pretty. I remember when I first read it, I was like, "Holy no, she's not going there! Oh my God, she's going there!" I was like, no way. Because, I mean, I don't think I've ever read any other lesfic where it had that kind of dynamic. You know, the two best friends, they grew up together. One of them got married, had a daughter. And then the other friend was always like the aunt to the daughter. And they grew, you know, helped raise her, blah, blah, blah. And then they wind up dating. I was like, oh, my God.
Yeah, well, let me set the story up for Liz, because I don't think she read that one.
Did you read that one, Liz?
No, it was making me think of Forbidden Passions for first sex.
Well, you know what? This is a book that I was inspired by another book, Lolita. And you can probably tell that if you've ever read the actual Lolita. There's Drew Bailey and Kate Emerson are the two older characters. They were best friends from high school. And Kate ended up marrying, her husband's name is escaping me right now, ended up marrying a guy she met in college and having two girls, Natalie and Lola. And Drew is actually Natalie's godmother, but because they all lived in the same small town, they grew up together, and Drew was like their aunt, like Andy was saying. And then Lola, who's the younger one, sort of starts to see Drew in a different light as she's in high school, and basically seduces Drew, who's 40 years old, and Lola's 17.
Mm-hmm. You got
Yeah. And you're right, Andy. A lot of people didn't like that. It made them really uncomfortable.
But you know what? I like it because it was so different. And no, I've never read the Lolita. I've never read it. I have seen movies adapted from it, but it was a nice departure from what I was reading at the time. So thank you for being bold enough to write it.
I personally enjoyed writing it, but it was controversial, and I got a lot of flame for it. But
you did.
I like it because it is different, and I like to be provocative sometimes and just put things out there, even if whether I agree with them or not. If they make me uncomfortable or not, I'm still going to write them because I want somebody to read it and say, oh my God, and be repulsed, or say, oh, that's great, or make them think and say, I never thought something like that could happen.
Yep.
And I think that book, more than any other book I've ever written, does that.
Yep. And I really enjoyed, and was surprised, but I really enjoyed Queen of My Country, Queen of My Heart.
Which one?
It would be the first one, actually.
You liked the first one?
I did like the first one. I thought the end was very bittersweet.
Oh yeah, well it is bittersweet. I took a lot of shit for this one too.
I bet you did.
I want to give you shit about a different book, but first talk about this one.
I took a lot of shit about this book because, again, I'll set it up. Alexa is a princess. Well, first of all, my father-in-law gave me the idea for this series. I'll say that.
Really?
We were having a discussion over dinner one time about the idea of George Washington becoming king of America once they won their independence from Britain. And that started kicking around in my head, and I thought, that would be interesting to write some sort of alternative history. Mm-hmm. So that's how it happened. And modern day times, Alexa is a princess, and her father is king, and her mother is queen, and he's dying, and they want her to get married, etc. And so she goes. They picked out one woman for her as her bride, and she wants this other woman that she's fallen in love with, Laura. And Laura agrees to marry her for reasons I'm still not quite sure. Because she's not in love with her. Being friends, maybe at best. But they don't know each other that well. And they get married. The consummation of that marriage is, I don't even know how you would describe it, Andy. It's not rape, but it's not exactly consensual either. I don't know how you would best describe it.
We'll leave it there. Let's just leave it there.
But anyway, so they go through that, and somehow by the end of the book, Laura's pregnant. Alexa's father dies. She becomes queen, and she sacrifices her life because someone tries to assassinate Laura, and she shields her from a gunfire.
Yeah.
And she dies.
Yep.
Which I took a lot of shit for that.
I bet you
main
did.
character dying, number one. And number two, the fact that Laura fell in love with Alexa after she was dead.
Yes, that was very interesting. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
That facet of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so, people hated that.
Well, fuck them. You're writing for you anyway.
But book two of the three is my personal favorite.
Really?
I really liked book three as I was writing, but as I was preparing again for this conversation, I went back and I read all three. Mm-hmm. And I realized that I think book two really captures what I wanted to capture more than any of the other ones.
Oh, I might have to read it again.
Huh?
I might have to read it again then.
Well, it's very much and someone else pointed this out to me, and I hadn't really thought about it, the Prince Charles and Diana story.
Oh.
And I hadn't really thought of it that way, but it kind of has that flavor to it, where, who's the princess? Alexa, marries Meredith out of obligation, but she's really in love with Lauren. Mm-hmm. And the whole idea of being in love with someone, but not being able to marry them, and still wanting to be with them. It was moving, I thought.
Oh, it's coming back to me, yeah.
Yeah, but then they go off and they have children in secret.
A whole other family. I'm loving it.
A whole other family. It's like Mormons.
Yeah, right?
A whole separate family.
Oh my God, it's so funny. Oh, Lord.
And then the queen finds out and she gets pissed off.
Yep. It's all coming back to me, yeah? Now you remember this.
Yeah. That's my favorite of the three.
Yeah.
And then I loved book three. Layla, who was the love interest in that book, Anastasia's love interest. I like the purity and the innocence about her. And she's very religious, and she's religious, but she's not conservative. Mm-hmm. And I like that about her. I like her purity. Some people didn't like that. They just thought she's unrealistic as a character. I'm like, no, she's not, because I know women like that.
They're kind of a rare breed here. I don't know about where you're from.
Well, where I'm from, where I was raised in Texas, they were all over the place. But they were conservative. But I was one. I mean, I wasn't a virgin like she was, but I was very religious, still am, but also very liberal at the same time.
Okay. I had a couple of things that I wanted to mention. With Love and Photographs, yes. I don't know if I would have forgiven, like my partner, Ilya. I don't think I would have forgiven her if she had a naked stripper masturbating on her lap, Like during I just don't see that being smoothed over any time. I mean, that's sex. Just because you didn't touch her breasts or anything like that, or you just held onto her hips and encouraged her to come on your stomach, but you were totally, totally drunk. No.
I like the way you described that. That's
Yeah, it's hot. Okay, it's hot, but unforgivable, as from my perspective. I mean,
well, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I really don't.
I wouldn't get over that fact, and the fact that it's people oftentimes use alcohol as a reason why they let things get out of hand. And allegedly she was so drunk, she hadn't been that drunk in a really long time. But there's a difference between getting a lap dance than, being in a room alone privately with a naked person who, is coming on you. I mean, that's cheating.
Okay, you gotta stop saying that word.
Getting a little warm.
You just gotta stop saying that word.
Is it getting a little warm over there?
We're not gonna be able to finish this conversation.
Oh my God.
You're coming.
Shut up.
Oh God. If we hear a vibrator.
I mean, I can understand, you smoothing that over, but for me that was a little, kind of a bullshit thing. I don't think that would have smoothed over so fast. I mean, I know that she was being honest, and then she totally tossed her cookies in the shower and was crying and sobbing hysterically. But the other thing that I thought was kind of weird was the whole thing of trying to get pregnant before the wedding. And being as I had my own wedding a couple of years ago, it takes 6 months to order a wedding dress, and you have to have several fittings. So are you going to actually intentionally get knocked up and have a really hard time having a dress that fits you for your wedding, or just wait a few months before you start trying? You know, I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay. I'm trying to think through that, but in my mind, I'm still hearing coming.
Stripper on her washboard stomach, going back and forth, painting her stomach with her essence. And
Did I just hear it? You?
Oi! I'm sitting here sweating with my scotch up on my forehead because I'm so freaking hot right now.
You don't have a fan you can turn on over there?
I do, but it's awfully loud.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm about to take my clothes off.
Oh my! Well, there's no video, so that's all right. If we hear
Super Dyke's about to make an appearance.
if we hear a vibrator, we'll just hit pause.
Well, I have a buzzkill for you. At least it was a buzzkill for me when I was reading The Dyke and the Debutante.
Yeah.
I was so with you for the whole thing. I was like, you know, it's fanfic for Elwood's, you know, Reese Witherspoon's character, and I really like their interactions, like between the two sororities and the two presidents of the sororities, one being a dyke and the other being a debutante. And I was like, yeah. And I thought it was really beautiful that they like rented a cabin and had this really romantic first relation. And I was like, that's awesome. And then that day that she's at her, that they're at Elle's house, and, you know, what's it called? Addison's tweaking out. She's like, I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with this, like, introduction into our sexual relationship. And I was like, what the hell could Elle want to do that would tweak Addison out so much, especially since Addison's not, like, a blushing virgin, right? And the fact that she wanted to experience what it'd be like to have semen ejaculated into her was so disgusting and bizarre that I just, you know, it totally threw me off for the rest of the book. I was like, then she gets pregnant, and I'm like, you know, from the perspective of somebody who used to sleep with guys, we're pretty much hyper vigilant about not getting knocked up. You know, basically a belt and suspenders. And even in, like, you know, in junior high, they don't tell you about, you know, how even just a little bit can get you pregnant, you know. So I was like, that, and like, okay, Elle has never been with anybody. Why would she be on birth control, even though the birth control failed? And then when she ended up getting pregnant, I was like, holy shit. And then, you know, they were going to end their relationship because, like, Elle was, like, you know, going to have the abortion, but then she couldn't be with Addison if she had the abortion. I'm like, how on earth are you going to go to law school knocked up? And I was like, what the fuck? Where did this story jump off the tracks? We were so right.
I so want to talk about all that stuff, but you've just thrown so much shit at me at one time.
Are you still on the other thing?
Oh, Liz, you don't know me that well yet, but once you bring sex into the conversation's over.
When has the sex ever not been in this conversation?
I know, right? You have listened to
once you start on the coming, it's all over.
I was going to say, haven't you listened to our other shows? Come on now. Sex always comes up in conversation.
Anyway.
Speaking of, Darkest Desires was a short story that, like, I kind of...
Are you just, like, giving up on D&D? Do I have to answer or anything?
Isn't
I'm gonna play Rihanna's S&M. Do you need a moment? Do we have to stop?
I love Rihanna's S&M. It's my favorite Rihanna song. By the way, go ahead.
I think it's fun.
Isn't Dyke and the Debutante one of the readers' favorites?
It is, but I'll be honest with you. When I read it for the first time last week, since, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, I got to the same place in the book that Liz did, and I said, what the fuck? What's going on?
And you wrote it. What the hell?
I was like, that is so disgusting and bizarre.
But I have to say that particular, Now I'm doing it. Now I'm having a windowsill moment.
Oh, I hate windowsill moments.
Okay. That particular desire of Elle's came from somebody else that I actually had spoken to who said that. And I thought, that would be interesting. So that's how it made it in there.
What do you mean, the simulation or the actual?
The simulation. Well, the actual. But I thought I would just simulate it for the two of them. And obviously I think that makes Addie really uncomfortable because she's not comfortable with men, and Elle had dated men up until that point. And so she was just really curious about it because her other friends, talk about that kind of stuff. And so she
wanted to drop $1,000 on some actual live sperm just because her friend told her it feels good?
Well, she's a California rich girl. That the money doesn't matter.
No, I know, but it's so incongruous to me. Like, I just can't imagine.
Well, what really gets me about the story, and one of the reasons, we'll get to people ask me for a sequel to this all the time, and I'll get to that in a minute, but one of the things that kind of bothers me about this book is the fact that, number one, she does get pregnant, and number two, that Addison actually suggests having an abortion. It doesn't seem like, Addison's thinking with her head when she says that, because she's thinking about herself and law school and this, that, and the other. She's not really thinking about Elle or their relationship. She's just thinking about, how do I get into law school? How do I, have my career?
I don't know about that because, let's talk about personal shit, but there was a time when I thought that there could be a fail in birth control, and I went directly to the health center and took the pill so that to be sure that nothing was going to go off.
Right.
I just, one of the things that I had a hard time identifying as, a true connective emotion was like her desire to keep this child. To me, that sounded irrational. And the thing is, Addison was thinking about, it's not shallow or only in your brain space. Like, becoming a parent is something very serious, and it's not simply going to screw up your graduate school experience. It's going to change the trajectory of your entire life, and it just seems phenomenally naive.
I agree. I think Addison probably made the wrong decision. Quite frankly, I think for both of them, it would have been better off had she had that abortion, but she didn't.
How the hell is she going to explain to that father that she knocked her up? I mean, that was at least the one thing that he wouldn't have had to worry about. Two lesbians having sex before marriage isn't going to make a baby.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for buying that engagement ring. It turns out she's pregnant because, it's kind of a funny story. She wanted to see what it felt like.
Yeah.
And, and she got pregnant, and I we're going to have the baby.
Yeah. I know how Elle's father reacted to that because I actually wrote that scene in what was supposed to be book 2. But number 1, my computer ate it.
Oh, man.
And I didn't recreate it. But number 2, and to your point, Liz, having a baby changes everything. And I'm an adult, and I have a 2-year-old, and it has changed everything. And I'm not some 20-year-old. I'm in my late 30s. It's changed my entire life. For them, it would have been a disaster. A disaster. I try and push the envelope sometimes, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. I'm not sure that's a time when it really worked.
But you did give it a shot.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Listeners don't know this, so I'm going to actually share this special moment with all of you. Alex, I have to say thank you for inspiring me to write again.
Aww.
If I hadn't read your stuff, and if I hadn't, sent you some emails to talk about writing and constructs and plot lines and that kind of thing, I wouldn't have written again. And so I thank you from the bottom of what little heart I have left.
You're making me blush on this end.
I'm just
what I love about your writing?
What's that?
I've I've told you this before, and I know we're supposed to be talking about my stuff, but I love your descriptions. I love the way you set up a scene and the kind of details that you put in there. It's magic.
Oh, thank you.
I love that jogging scene, by the way.
Oh, Clay's jogging scene?
Yeah, that was awesome.
But a personal tidbit about me, since we're on sex and porn and all that.
Yeah.
Something that I have never told anybody but one other person that everyone will now know.
Yeah, hundreds of people.
I'm so hypersexual, I can think my way into an orgasm.
Get the hell out.
You are just like my goddamn wife, and I hate you. She
Oh.
can come without any stimulation. We could be driving in the fucking car, and she'll get something in her head, and she'll be able to climax. I fucking hate her.
I can't do
I have
that.
to work for it. She, bing, 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 like, oh, we'll be in the kitchen, and she'll come up behind me and rub up against my ass, and, like, a few seconds later, she'll sit down. And I was like, I hate you, and I hate you.
That's me.
Well, no wonder you threw out the damn toys.
You don't need them.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, but I still like them.
All right.
I'm a Super Dyke. I could just go over and over and over and over.
The Energizer Bunny.
Yeah.
Okay, so what a great segue into Who Would You Fuck? Woo! This is one of our favorites.
Woohoo!
Oh, Lordy. So who wants to start?
I'm feeling a little kinky lately. I think I'd probably just, like, have, you know, a gaggle of all the bitches and, like, an orgy scene and just have them all.
A Butch Daisy chain, is that what you're saying?
I don't know about the daisy chain part of it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to make loop-de-loop-de-loop-de-loop of sex. But, like, Aaron and Addison and Torrance
Blake,
and Jamie.
Jamie. Mm-hmm. Wow, just have a Butch sandwich. One of those big hoagie types, you know, it goes for miles.
You know, a sidebar, I've never had a fantasy about being with a tiny woman. Like, you know, a short, petite little woman. It's never been my, like, fetish.
Are we talking 3'8" here or what?
No, but all the, like, Gabrielle-esque characters are, like, you know, short and petite. And I'm like, I would snap somebody like that in half. They just seem so, I don't know. Not that you can't be, like, buff and strong and little. Like, you know, I know plenty of people who are, but it's never been my fantasy woman.
Mm-hmm.
That certainly is mine.
Yeah,
well, I mean,
okay.
I'm 5'8". You know, I prefer to be with somebody who, like, no matter what body type, I always like to be with somebody who's strong.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, butch femme, you know, whatever. You know, I always like somebody, you know, who's hardy and unbreakable.
So are you saying that you like being dominated too, or no?
I can go both ways. I see myself as a flipper, you know.
A flipper?
Flipper, you know, you can be top or bottom.
No, I just thought of this, the fish. Never mind. Okay.
No. Fish, yeah.
My mind went way in a different direction on that one.
But I mean, in my history, I've pretty much been a top, and a lot of the tops I've been with wanted me to top them, which many times has been a disappointment because I always wanted somebody to turn me out. Well, I guess that's why I like some of these butch characters. I'm like, that would be nice, you know. It's just like, all right, I'm gonna take you and make it happen.
They have some skills, that's for sure.
I like that. I've been, you know, but they're few and far between. I'll tell you.
Some sweet
surrender. I have to
surrender.
say, I gave away one of my trade secrets in ice. I'll have to go back and rate it again. About how to make a woman come.
Oh, I definitely have to go read that
it's
again.
how to ease a virgin straight woman into having, like, lesbians will move it. Like, it's like it's incrementalism. Like, you know, the slow burn to the point where you get them just dizzy enough to take the, you know, cross that line in the sand, and then the next line, and the next line, and then, you know, because she's like, I have to pace myself because I want everything. So I have to make sure that she's so insane with lust that she'll, you know, forget the fact that she's a straight virgin with a boyfriend and let me fuck her.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of an expert in that.
All right, there you go. That's right. Okay, so Alex.
Yeah.
Who would you fuck, sister?
Well, I have to preface my answer. In order to answer that question, you have to know one fact about my writing, which is I would fuck any femme in any book I've ever written because if I didn't want to fuck her, she wouldn't be in the book.
Ah, makes perfect sense.
But having said that, of all of the women that I've written about, there is one that is so far above all others. She's on a pedestal, and I think Liz can probably guess who it is by the fact that she is on a pedestal, and that it would be Helen.
I was going to say, yeah. That would have been my choice.
There's a special story about Helen that we haven't talked about, but I'll hold off until we finish this game, and then I'll tell you.
All right. Yeah, Helen was in Love and Photographs, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And in Vows of the Heart, which Liz still hasn't read.
Right. Which we don't want to give away, yeah.
Stays with, like, bitter accusation.
The whole reason I wanted you to read it was because I wanted to talk about the end, and now I can't talk about the end because you haven't read it.
Damn it.
Well, Andy, have you read it?
Yes.
Then y'all talk about it. I don't have a problem with that.
I didn't.
Well, first of all, Andy's got to answer the question.
Oh, Sarah.
Sarah, why?
Hands down, Sarah.
Why?
Because to me, Sarah just embodies the perfect feminine for me. You know, she's a mom. She's compassionate. She's got a direction. She can be loyal. We know she can be discreet. But I just love her. Just love that character.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah. And
Okay.
she's just. Is there anything wrong with her? No. Well, of course, she picked the wrong man only because she got pregnant. Did she marry that guy? But I don't know. I just love Sarah.
Yeah, I know she's pretty special.
She is.
She's unique.
Yeah.
She's based on someone real as well. A celebrity.
Ah.
I don't know how much you know about celebrity women, but she's an actress.
Mm-hmm.
If you go on my Facebook page, you'll find out.
I know that there are 3 celebrities that have inspired you, and I guess you don't want me to give them away. You want people to go searching.
Yeah, they're on my Facebook page.
I know they're on your Facebook page. Yeah, is one of them the Free Pass?
Wait, say again.
Is one of them the Free Pass?
One of them is the Free Pass. That's Heidi Klum.
Yeah.
And we actually haven't talked about any stories in which Heidi Klum was the inspiration, believe it or not.
Well, we're going to have to rectify that.
Yeah. The other one is Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah.
I have to say, Reese Witherspoon has probably been my muse more than anybody else.
Huh.
She is for Sarah, and she is for Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Both. She's not for Helen. Helen is one of the very few characters in which my muse was a stranger.
And for all the sex that you have in these books and that you're hypersexual, how come you've never written an orgy scene?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's nothing to do with you, Alex. It's just that Andy has a special place in her heart for orgies.
Well, just like I have a special place for straight virgins. We all have things that we like.
We all have things that we like.
Straight virgin.
And Westerns, which is a little off topic. Oh, God.
I have never written an orgy scene. I don't know. I just... Number one, I have declined orgy offers before in my personal life because I like the one-on-one experience, so I just have declined, and I guess that's just my way, and so I haven't done it.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right, okay,
but now that you say it, maybe I'll consider it.
Maybe. I don't know. I didn't even really think of it much in regular, erotica. Okay, I expected they were maybe reading some maybe heavier porn kind of thing. I get that, but I don't ever recall reading it in any lesfic or fanfic until I read Knights of Silk and Sapphire. Mm-hmm. And although they didn't have an actual orgy scene in that book, but they had lots and lots and lots of sex. It was in a harem. Yeah,
I know. Oh, you're gonna love my new book if you like harems.
You tease. Did you write a harem?
Well, this goes back to something that I've been thinking about my college experience, and then Liz probably doesn't even know this, but in some passing conversation that Liz and I had on email, she mentioned her school and what we call, well, at my school we called them big old dykes, but...
Oh, BDOC, Big Dykes on Campus.
Big Dykes on Campus, right. And I was trying, because I was one when I was in college, the idea of having all these, that persona, it's kind of like the Jamie persona. You're bigger than life, you're everybody wants to be around you, everybody wants to be with you, everybody wants you to bed them. That's kind of what my college experience was like, and I loved every minute of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I obviously met my wife, but I kind of wanted to capture that, and so there's a lot of harem-like atmosphere in the new book where the main character, one of the main characters gets a lot of sex. From a lot of different places.
Well, are you going to hurry up and put it out there?
Well, I'm going to try my best. It's not finished. I mean, It's 600 pages, but it's not done.
Oh, damn.
Well, actually, I'm sorry. It's not 600 pages. It's 464 pages, but I have about another 100 to 150 pages to go.
Well, damn, girl, chop, get on it. Well, the nice thing about Alex's work is it's diversified. You can have, a little PWP, just have a little sex over here, and then if you feel like, reading something that's longer, has more character development, has a nice story, then you have that a luxury, because she does. She changes things around, and I, for one, like that.
Alex, you've kept me up so many nights, it's ridiculous. I should know better than to start your book, in the evening, because then I don't sleep.
That's true. Just stick with the short stories at night. They'll get you in the mood, and then you go have sex and go to bed.
I have a really hard time with short stories, though. I mean, even though I like them, I have to be in a particular mood. I guess I like the pacing of something longer and whatnot, but my eyes were crossing, by the time I was finishing up with reading Super Dyke this morning. My eyes were like, you've been reading on your e-reader for 7-8 hours or so, and your eyes are going to cross now.
Oh, that's painful. Well, I think, excuse me, I think it's pretty easy to say, oh my God, my head's starting to feel a little woozy from all the scotch.
Dang, girl. Speaking of pacing.
Yeah, speaking of pacing. Well, I haven't had dinner yet.
What? Really?
Yeah.
I drank all my scotch.
Yeah, exactly. I had a liquid dinner.
Oh, Lordy.
My mother-in-law came over unexpectedly this evening to see my daughter. So I entertained her instead of eating. But anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. I think it's pretty obvious now, and if it's not, I'll just say it. The short stories are the ones that are just about sex, for the most part, and the long ones are the long ones. But I think it's hard for me to write a non-sexual short story, I guess, because I just want it to be. I want to write about sex. I mean, that's just who I am as a person, and that's how I started out. And I like writing about sex.
Does it ever make you feel squeamish that your family or your parents will read your stuff?
Yes, it does.
Where would our listeners find your work?
Oh, you'd have to ask me a trick question, wouldn't you?
Come on now. You can actually still get it on the Athenaeum, I know for sure. But I don't know if they're still posting stuff.
On the what?
The Athenaeum?
Oh, yeah. I don't know what's going on with their website. Now, this is something I need help with. Putting out new material, I don't know if they're still posting stuff or not. The times that I've emailed them, I haven't gotten a response, which is highly unusual.
Yeah.
I've started to post again to the Academy of Bards. I did it when I first started, 10 years ago or whatever, and then I stopped for a while, and now I've started back up. Most of it's backfill. I need readers to understand that. It's backfill. It's stuff I've written a long time ago. I actually got flamed not too long ago.
Really?
By something that was posted, and I'm like, hey, I wrote that 10 years ago. I appreciate your comment, but I'm not going to fix it now.
Yeah, not 10 years later.
But whatever. But, I need to find mediums in which to post. Wow. I really do. So if anybody has any ideas, please let me know.
Okay. Have you thought about starting your own website over at WordPress?
I have thought about it. I'm not very tech savvy, number one. Mm-hmm. And number two, I don't know if there's a number two.
Number one was a biggie. Yeah.
But truth be told, I would like to have my own website.
Yeah.
So if anybody out there can lend me a hand and teach me how to put one together, just email me because I'm willing to learn. I just haven't had the time to sit down and try and teach myself how to do it.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to reading more work.
I'm looking forward to putting out more work.
Yeah, I bet you're looking forward to putting out. Huh? Yeah.
Yes. I'm looking forward to putting out anytime, anywhere, any place.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Oh, this has been a whole barrel of fun.
Yeah, it has. Yeah. But seriously, someone help me with a website of my own. Someone help me with publishing.
All right.
Because I need help.
Aw. All right. Well, again, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you, Alex, for coming on.
This has been awesome. I want to do this again.
Well, I always encourage authors to come on again. I do. We love it. We have on several, like Andy Marquette's been on a few times. Isabel Author's been on a few times. Sean Blackhawk. Call it Moody.
Well, I have so much stuff I've written. We could go on for quite a while.
We could. Let's make that a plan.
Just hit me up.
All right. Well, you're the one with a busy damn schedule.
I know, but, we planned this one how many months in advance and worked.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe we can do something in the fall.
Maybe.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right, good.
Let's go for it.
Yeah, let's do.
Okay.
All right.
Maybe I'll be finished with my new book and you could have a sneak peek.
Oh, yeah, don't tease. You're such a tease. Oh, my God. All right. Well, thank you for coming on. Thank you, Liz, for being a fabulous co-host as usual.
Thank you. You guys are awesome. Alex, I'm glad to have driven you to distraction. That's my goal in life.
Well, a distraction, more like orgasm. Come on.
Wait, you had an orgasm on the show we didn't know about?
Hey, my husband just walked in the room. I'm going to get in trouble.
Uh-oh. Oops.
No, I had so much fun.
I told them about you, baby, about how you can come without stimulation and how I hate you.
Oh, yeah, that one I'm a little jealous about myself.
Anyway, sorry.
Mm-mm. Yeah. All right.
It's been great fun. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, us too.